6 minutes late. Well. Look what we have here. I think after this many days off, I don't know if anybody's even going to show up. 21 seconds in. Oops. Wait a minute. Everything's reversed on here. All right, Justin, you showed up. All right, look at it. Lenny, Andy, Inga. All right. Justin, Andy, Inga, and Sean. Right on. Well, and Brittany. You guys must have missed me. We have been having major problems with the internet, as you know. And last week, and Dion, last week, Thursday or Wednesday, nope, nothing. And then Thursday, nothing. And then Friday, I didn't have a chance to really tell y'all, but I was over in Wisconsin. We brought some pigs over to a customer. So that was where we were. And so it hasn't worked out. And then last night, same thing, didn't work out. And so today, Joe had the bright idea of moving a booster thing that we have that we keep down in the butcher shop. And he said, we'll try moving that around because maybe that's it. And Jill moved it up here and put it up on a shelf right up there. And there's a program that she's got that will gauge the loading speed of everything that we're doing. And it's working. It's working. So we may have fixed it. Jill and Joe put their heads together and they may have gotten it done, which I hope so, because honestly, I don't like when equipment doesn't work continually. You know, if equipment is broken, then let's get it fixed and then we can continue. And sometimes we use broken equipment for a little while to get things done, but then it's time to get things straightened out. And, we just weren't getting things straightened out. And our internet provider they have always been really hard to work with. You know, if you call up the office, the lady there gets her undies in a bunch, and then she won't, she'll say, well, the technician he's busy, and so you wind up paying for service for a month and you don't have it, and so it got to the point where I was calling over her head. I was calling some guy in New York, but then it would still take a week because they would drag their feet here and they wouldn't fix it. If we had another option, I would definitely dump this company so quick. I really don't like working with them, but anyway, if we get this to work, then we're going to continue on. And we had Jill and I had some real time together. It was just me and her that went over to Wisconsin. So the ride over was not as much fun. You're leaving the farm and we have to drive south and then through Chicago. And I don't like it that much. You pay $10 in tolls in about 4 miles. And it just seems like, what am I paying for here? So going through Chicago is not always great. It's just a big gray city and everybody's driving really fast, and you just kind of wonder what would happen to you if you ever broke down. And I don't know, it's just too much unknown. But we made it up into Wisconsin about noon, and the lady who we were bringing pigs over to uh, had lunch for us. So we had a really nice lunch, and might as well tell you what happened. All right, Nancy's with us, and Haven's with us. Right on, right on. I sold a breeding pair of pigs to this lady, and her husband came over. You know, they drove all the way from Wisconsin. I had told her, hey, this pig's closer than Wisconsin, than Michigan. You know, there's people, breeders in your neck of the woods. And she said, no, we want to get them from you. We want to get them from you. And real nice people. And I sold them a breeding pair. And a year goes by, and she says, nothing's happening. You know, these guys are just not breeding. And I said, well, separate them for a while, and then maybe that will get them interested in each other. And then she said, you know, I don't know. This just, my girlfriend was here, and she said, this just doesn't look like a boar. And then she sent me a picture of him, and she was right. It didn't look like a boar. But I thought, there's no way that I sold somebody a boar that wasn't a boar. There's just no way, because I'm always really careful. I'll turn them over. I'll look at their stomach to make sure that there's no hernias on the stomach, make sure that there's no defects, the closest we, you know, just by looking at them. And then you always feel them to make sure they have two testicles, right? And that may seem a little strange, but sometimes they can have one and then the other one is undescended, right? And that doesn't happen very much here. It's happened with some of our other pigs, but never with Mangalitsa. I've just never encountered it. Not saying it doesn't happen, but I've sold breeding stock too. And all right, the cleric's with us, right on, and Big Keith. Okay. Boy, we got everybody. All right. I mean to take a little vacation, have people missing me. But anyway, she sent me pictures of it, and I was like, it does not look like that guy has a set of testicles on him. So what could I do? I had no choice. And I said, okay, well, it looks like we're making a road trip. I'll bring you another one. I didn't really want to, but, they drove all the way over here, paid me for this pig, and were disappointed. And I think that they're members of the tribe, although I'm not sure. And so I just didn't want any, we're just getting started with this community and all, the business and, turning other people on to homesteading and farming. And I sure don't want it circulating that I'm not being fair to people or, unfair or ripping people off. So we had to go. And I just figured, well, we'll make a trip out of it. We'll make a kind of a little vacation out of it. There's not much to do this time of year here. It's cold. February, Northern Michigan, not a lot of fun. So we went, me and Jill took the pilot, and then we drove up through, instead of coming back through Chicago, we went up through Wisconsin over into the upper peninsula of Michigan, or what's called around here, they call it the UP. And we made it to Escanaba and got a hotel, and by the time we were about an hour and a half out from Escanaba, it was snowing, and it was snowing really good. So we haven't had a lot of snow here. I only plowed here once this year. And normally, I plow like 10 times. So, and it doesn't look like we have no snow right now. We have no snow. We have about a half an inch of ice, or maybe some places we have about an inch of ice. It started raining last night, got up this morning, everything was totally covered with ice. Everything. Trees, cars, everything. About a quarter of an inch, and then during the day it kept raining. and it was below 32. So as soon as it would hit, it would freeze up. Didn't do that much damage. But anyway, coming across the UP, we had some serious uh, weather going on. It was blizzard conditions, and we're driving. At some point you can't really see where the road is, and just rely on the rumble strips. Okay, I know I'm at the edge, so and we're doing 25 miles an hour. It was intense, but we had all the time in the world and didn't really have to be back here until Sunday. We got back Saturday afternoon, stopped in a couple places in the UP that we like to stop at, and got some fish and had lunch just below the bridge. There's a bridge that goes from the Upper Peninsula to the Lower Peninsula, and it's a 5-mile long bridge. It's called the Mackinac Bridge, the Mighty Mac, and it's quite a trip to travel across that bridge when it's windy. It's intense because the thing's kind of, and you're way up there over the water, and you can kind of look down through the grating. And if you don't do it all the time, it can be a little hairy. It's been shut down today, I think. It was way too windy. So anyway, that's what we did. But as we were driving, we had a lot of time to talk. A lot of time to talk about Anyone Can Farm. A lot of time to talk about the On the Road program, about motorhomes, about, did we ever think that we were going to wind up in a place like this, and things like that, So it was nice. Good to be home. And here we are. It's back to business. So why wasn't I on last night? I wasn't on last night because I was a little irritated about it not working, right? The internet not working. Looks like it's working now, doesn't it? You guys got me 5x5? All right. And then I had a leaky faucet in the tub. The fixture there is an antique fixture, and it's not standard stuff, and you have to be very careful with it because it's old. And there was just a nut on there that holds the water line that comes up to it, and it's this old nut, and it was dripping, drip, 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 and it ran out onto the floor. And it's kind of, the whole thing is custom built. I built the whole thing. Nothing about it is standard. And so I got a wrench, and I put it on that B nut, and I turned it a little bit, and then it split the nut, and I didn't hardly even put any pressure on it. Right. So I had shut the water off, so that slowed everything down. Dishes piled up, everything, and I had to go searching for another valve assembly because there was a split, and it was not anything that I could fix. It was a bronze flange, so I couldn't do anything with it, and it had several small splits in it, right, just from old age. The tub came out of a house up in town that was built in '02, so I figure it was standard equipment. And so anyway, that was not what I was planning to do yesterday. Actually, I had a lot of things that I really needed to do yesterday. I really needed to get after some stuff. We have a class coming up here in March, and it's not this weekend, but the following weekend. And I have to get some things prepared for that class. It's not like everything's always inspection ready around here. I've got a lot of beef in the shop. Got some projects that I have started that I need to get finished. And, I woke up ready to hit the ground running yesterday morning. And then I have this little problem to fix, get a wrench, put it on there, and kablooey. Now we have no shower, and everything is kind of messed up because okay, how do I plug this line? So it just turned into, and I'm not complaining, right? John Pierce, F-15 crew chief. Nope. John is Army, or was, but yeah. Okay. All right. That question was directed at Brittany. So anyway, all right. This leads me to my topic tonight, and it's keeping it simple. Every single day that goes by, I am starting to wrap my head around the reality of America stepping back from what we've been sold. We've been sold something that was very good at first, very good at first. We were sold the supermarket and, lower prices and, feed the world. And you all don't have to live on farm. You can all live in town now and work at the factory and make better wages. And you don't have to work quite as hard. Maybe, I don't know. And leave farming to just a few people. And we are seeing that, as well as, mega healthcare and pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies and banks and schools and law enforcement. We're watching it all before our eyes. Wow, that's not what we thought it was. Watching what's going on in Canada right now. I didn't think that's what the Canadian government was all about. I didn't think that they were like that, but we're seeing what these institutions really are about. And people are falling back on their, what would you call it? I'm at a loss for the word here. What American people are, their ingenuity, their self-control. I'm not getting the words. Like people from New England, like me, are known for, tenacity. Never give up. I will get this done one way or another. People are falling back on that. And even if they didn't know if they had it, they're realizing that they must fall back on that. And I am in conversations with people that are all of a sudden realizing that they have this within them, and it's waking up within them. I'm seeing it every day. Now, maybe it's where I'm at, which is different from where you guys are at, but we're on to something here. I think that we are the point of the spear of the new America, the America that's coming. I could be wrong. I mean, it could be like visions of grandeur, right? But I don't know. People were sold this vision of, you get this training from a university and it only costs you $120,000, but then you get this cubicle job, that's got a really nice water fountain and stuff, and you have some real uppity Karen woman that is your supervisor, and you work in this cubicle, but you're making good money, but you're paying back this 120 grand too. So that was sold to people, and it's almost like they became like indentured servants, or slaves to these companies that have And what are the companies? The companies are the school systems. They are the pharmaceutical companies. They are the hospitals. And it's not working out so good. And people are just kind of tied to it. And the whole thing kind of smells bad. So a lot of people are saying, you know what, I want to do something different. I can do something different, and I want to do something different. Not sure what that is yet, but maybe it's homesteading, or maybe I'm willing to listen to what this guy will say. Maybe this guy knows what the deal is. And there's a lot to it. There is a whole lot to it. I think a lot of it has to do with TV, with marketing, the marketing that's around us. Me and Jill stayed in a hotel, and usually when we stay in a hotel, we have kids with us. A hotel, motel, whatever, I don't know. And I don't really particularly like staying in them. I'd rather do something else, but usually the TV is like goes to something that's decent for the kids to watch, and that's it. But I had a chance to bounce around on it a little and see things. And I see that to feel normal, you have to, you see the lifestyle that people live on commercials, and they're living good. They're living really good, or it looks good. Anyway, big smiles on their faces, big houses, and all this stuff. And I'm not sure that that's reality, because the hotel that I was staying in, there was actually people in that hotel that were living in that hotel. And they're watching them same commercials, and I don't think they're living that way. And I know I don't live that way. But I feel as though if I want to live that way, and I'm living the way I am, then it creates a yearning, or a I'm dissatisfied, and I believe that is a tool that's being used. I am dissatisfied. Create that dissatisfaction in people, and then they will strive for more. And you're dissatisfied. Here's the answer, right? Alien. Same old thing. So those of us that have decided that we're going to live a more rural lifestyle, we want to produce our own food, as much of it as we can. We want to be involved in the processes around us. I seen Andy today, just a little while ago, put goats out on a section of briars that he wants to reclaim. It had overgrown. He wants to reclaim it. He put goats out on there, and he gets to sit there and watch those things, deforestate that area. And then tomorrow it's going to look different, and the day after that it's going to. But you're involved with it. If the question came up about, well, how do you use goats for deforestation? The kid could talk with the power of having done it. Do the thing, you'll have the power, right? And there's satisfaction in that. There's a lot of satisfaction in that type of thing. The things that I see on the tribe, I'm really impressed with. Justin did a beef. He just did it. I'm going to do a beef, and he does a beef, and then set up a cooler. The Pierces, they've done all kinds of things on their place, and they're still moving forward. By the way, we have a box that was going to go out today, but the UPS man couldn't come. He couldn't come because it was too icy out. Hey, Frank, can you shut this door? Or just close it mostly so there's just a boot in the way or something? It's not too cold back here, thanks. There's noise in that room. I'm glad we didn't have to give up our spot here. I'm going to take a little tea break. So with all that said, I did our homesteading adventures are just fun, and and relaxing and a great hobby and stuff. I don't. I don't. I believe if we had, it's sort of like a chain, right? If you have a long chain and you have all these links, and if each link is a pretty strong link, then you have a strong chain. Or consider something like chain mail. You know, it's a conglomeration of small links that go together and actually make a fabric. And that link by itself won't really stop anything. But once they're fabriced up together, it'll stop an arrow or possibly a sword or, you know, a stabbing motion or something like that. And a whole bunch of strong families that are able to keep themselves fed and commune, right? Commune. Like if somebody's got a problem, hey, we can gather around them and get that fixed. We don't really have that now. We really don't. But we're developing it. I think it's going to be different because I'll tell you what I see. I'll tell you what I see here. And maybe Haven's seen this. But the farms around here, it almost seems like they're not very friendly with each other. You know, like they keep to themselves. It seems like it used to be different back in the old days. Like they used to, you know, share equipment and help each other on harvests and stuff like that. But that kind of came to an end. When guys could get their own equipment and they got nice stuff, they didn't want to share. I don't know. I don't know how it happened. But it seems like they're all a bunch of individuals, and they're easily contained. It seems like they're easily contained if they're not a united group of people. And if they're not a united group, well, then they can't really rail against the machine. Like in no other business that I know of do you create a farm product, ship the product to the buyer, and then the buyer decides what they're going to pay for it. I don't know of another, you know, do I buy a car from Ford Motor Company and then I tell them, well, I'm going to give you this much after I'm, you know, utilizing it? It doesn't work that way, but that's the predicament that the farms have got themselves in. And I wonder if one day they woke up and said, hey, how did this happen? I mean, we're producing something, milk, and we're letting them tell us what they're going to pay for us. Well, why don't we go to somebody else? Well, because there's only a couple of them that you can sell to in that bulk. And I don't know. I think it's a mindset too. If some of these really big farms decided that, hey, we're going to use the money that the government loans to us to operate, we're going to build a bottling company. I think the USDA would be swooping in on that so quick, saying, no, you're not. You can spend it on this, this, and this, but only on that land. You know, you can get big or get out. And they're in a real predicament right now. You know, they're not doing very good. Agriculture, industrial agriculture across the board is not doing well. And so therefore they don't have much of a lobby as farmers. You know, they don't have power as farmers because they've been kind of corralled in. It's kind of sad. I did hear this weekend that there's an avian flu going around the United States right now. I think it's in 4 states, not this one. But Georgia, being one of the #1 producers of poultry, has said, well, we're going to head it off. And so we're going to suspend all poultry production until further notice in the entire state. So now you've got an outfit like the Department of Agriculture saying, no, you can't because we say so. Ooh. Ooh. That's going to educate a lot of people if that happens. A lot of people are going to get a quick education if that happens. Just like what's going on in Canada right now. People are getting very quick educations as to, you know, the sides and what the other side is capable of doing. And then they start to ponder what they're capable of doing. And, you know, we we haven't seen it as a large group here in the United States. The Canadians did, and they've had a lot more restrictions on them that are illegal, but it's happened than we have. And now it's coming down to it. I don't think that what we're seeing coming out of the mainstream news is true. Honestly, I don't. I just don't. I think the truckers had too strong of a position, and it's sort of like Nancy said, as soon as the truck drivers congealed and showed up, it was over for the government. And I believe that was true. I mean, just because they shipped in a bunch of guys that didn't speak the same language and got rough with them, there was way too many trucks there, way too many trucks. And I just don't think that the truckers would have capitulated. If they did, then maybe the whole thing was, as Owen Benjamin said, the whole thing was a scam. And they didn't have good leadership. They had leadership that was put in place in order to capitulate to the government. Now the government has like total control, or at least they say they do. I don't know. I just don't take anything at face value that comes out of the mainstream media anymore. You know, they say that the emergency measures were voted in. Are we getting the whole story? And, you know, are United Nations troops in Canada at this point? Are they actually seizing people's bank accounts? Is that actually happening? I don't know. The only thing, yeah, and the ghost chimes in, says it ain't over up here. I hope not. You know, I got to level with you. Constantly, we hear commentators say things like, well, I'm not advocating violence by any means. You know, they'll say that. They'll throw that disclaimer in. And I think that is unwise to do that, because you'll notice that the government will always threaten violence. And they somehow seem to be justified because they're the government. They will send the stormtroopers out with the full helmets on. You can't see their faces, rifles, pepper spray, beanbag guns, sonic weapons, all that stuff. Every one of the dogs, batons, every one of those things is violence. That's all violence. And as the public, we're always saying, well, I'm not advocating violence. Which I'm not sure that that's always a good thing. You know, I almost think that's part of the training, you know. Oh, violence. We would never do any violence. But they will always do violence. They will always show up with guns. Always. And somehow it's ungentlemanly to show up with your AR-15 and your body armor. How is that? I mean, isn't that the reason why we have the right to own and bear, is so we can throw off a tyrannical government? And that doesn't mean we're just gonna say, you know, you once they gain power, they're never going to give it up. The only way they're ever going to give it up is if they feel as though they are going to lose everything. And that's what they always threaten you with. We will take everything that you have. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes, but I don't think that people in the world right now, after everything they've been through, are just going to lay down and take more from these. You know, it's the same class. It's the parasite. A lot of them are intellectuals too. I hate to put them down, but a lot of them consider themselves a lot smarter than everybody else. But you know, my dealings with some, maybe 50% or 60% of the intellectual class, is they don't know how to do very much. But you know, I'm not just, I don't dislike intellectuals. I dislike an attitude of we're superior. Get out there and hoe them potatoes for me, because I don't do that. I don't like that attitude, and I won't hoe anybody's potatoes, but you ain't going to eat either, unless you get out there and hoe your own damn potatoes. But I do know quite a few educated people, so I guess they fall in the intellectual class. I'm educated too. I don't consider myself an intellectual. Maybe I should. Working intellectual. But their attitude is, hey, I don't want to, this ain't getting me where I want to go. I need to learn how to survive. I need to learn how to grow my own food and build my own house and deliver my own babies and, stitch my own wounds and things like that. And for those intellectuals, hey, it took, they're able to process what they're seeing across the fruited plain and figure out it's get hostile out there, and we have to learn how to provide for ourselves, because we can't rely on these institutions anymore. We just can't. We have to separate from those institutions and just do our own. I mean, it actually is peaceful. It's just like you turn your nose up at the big box stores and said, no, I'm gonna get away from this. This is not good. Yeah, they have cheap chicken there, but that's not even what I want. It doesn't taste good, and I know it's not nourishing my body. So, yeah, we are going to see what goes on up there. We're going to see too in this country. The problem I have with the trucker convoy here is they're not putting out a very concrete list of demands of this government, and I don't know. They are seizing bank accounts. I see Nancy saying they are seizing bank accounts. Yeah. Okay. Well, I just don't, I don't know anybody who's had their bank account seized. And I do have a Canadian friend that I talked to yesterday at length, and she said the same thing as we are getting here. She's in the States now, and she's saying that, well, there's two narratives out there. There's the narrative that the government has lost control, and now they're having to take these authoritarian measures, but they can only really institute it in very small places, and it almost seems like they're doing it for a photo op. But then when the smoke clears, they're a very sparse group of people that are kind of hanging out there in the breeze, and they must be thinking, what were we thinking? We have to live with these people, and I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. But I have a problem with that, Nancy, where you say violence is taxpayer funded. I really have a problem with that. And the same people who our tax money is going to wants me to disarm, and has done this operation on the country to convince people that it's the responsible thing to do to disarm, so that you can basically you're vulnerable to anybody that is armed. I have been in this position before where you are under arms, you're wearing big boy clothes, have a helmet on, and maybe body armor on and stuff, and you're standing out there guarding something. You kind of have a funny feeling the whole time, because you're presenting yourself as a combatant, right? You're presenting yourself as a combatant. You're eligible. You're eligible to get your body armor rung, in that case, or your helmet rung off your head. So it's a big step, and it's a desperate step for the government of Canada to put guys out on the street in tactical gear. It really is. It's a bad look. It really is a bad look. And it almost says, like, game on. And I wouldn't want to be one of those guys in a green uniform out there with full tack gear. I wouldn't want to do that. Um, because you're making that assumption with that stance that there are enemies out there that want to shoot you, and these guys are just prancing around like it's I don't know. I don't like the look of it. We've seen too much of it in the United States for sure, and I think people are a little bit tired of it. Like the two classes of people: the class of people that can do whatever they want, they have their own private army to protect them, and then are expected to be gentlemen and not act, when we're being trounced. And I just think people are getting to the point where like, well, wait a minute, why why am I doing this? And I heard President Trump's he was interviewed by somebody this weekend, I think, and he said the United States is far more of a tinderbox. And I would have to agree with that. Now, I have made, and you guys are too, I have made decisions that I'm going to live in the perimeter. I'm going to live a rural lifestyle. I'm pulling myself away from the authoritarianism of the cities and even bigger towns, actually. I've pulled away from it. And I live on my own land, and I create my own food and do pretty much what I want within the law, and it's a good way to go. But I remember that there was incidents that happened in this country during my lifetime in cities, which made me say, I do not want to live there. I don't want to subject myself to that. And just the day to day, I don't want to subject myself. I'm willing to take, a lifestyle pay cut to live in the perimeter where I can kind of stand out the back door, in my undies in the morning and scratch my butt if I want to. It's that type of lifestyle if I want to. And I appreciate that. Some people don't. There's people in my family that want to live in the city because then they can take the train to their high paying job and then live in their little tiny apartment that costs them, $6,000 a month. But they think that's the coolest thing than getting together with their friends and drinking, Dom Perignon and designer beers. And that's what they get a kick out of. Okay, do that. I never did like that. But anyway, we've made this move, and I think that there's going to be more of it. And I think that they're going to be turning to those of us that have made this move to say, like, hey, what do I do next? So when we are sharpening our skill set, I think we need to start looking at it. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. We need to start looking at more of a necessity. This is with a sense of urgency. We have to have a sense of urgency. So when we get together and we talk about things, and some of them are philosophical, it's going to be with a sense of urgency. Food is life or death. It really is life or death. I remember thinking at our last farm, we planted a garden, and I stood back from that and I thought, boy, this is going to be good. But then I thought, yeah, but if it isn't, I'll just go to the store. But then I thought, how different would it be if I couldn't get to the store? If it was a 20-mile wagon ride to the store to get, a bunch of Brussels sprouts that might not even be there when you get there. You don't even know. How different would it be, and how much more focused would you be on this garden area and the other things that you were doing in your when we first moved there? We met this woman. Her name was Mrs. Riffenberg. Old Lady Riffenberg, they called her. And she, at one time, took care of, I think, 4 acres of garden. And it was because she had a bunch of kids, and her husband, and and then there was extended family that had to be fed. And at that time, uh, it wasn't feasible for her to just jump in a vehicle and drive the 60 miles into town to get food. They had to have it on their place. So she had a really nice root cellar, and just really documented everything that she did. She had journals of her gardening experience. Excuse me. Because she was serious about it, and I think that we need to be serious about it too. And we can get serious about prepping and go out and buy a pallet of canned vegetables, but I would rather see people in my tribe. I'd rather see them get into food production and nurturing of the land that will continue to produce. The old give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. That type of thing. Like, learn to nurture your property and it will feed you. It will feed you. And lower your expectations, for goodness sakes. I mean, get a good meal and get to watch a rerun of Oprah or something. Hey, you're good. That's it. You get sleep in a warm house. That's pretty good. There's a lot of people that aren't doing that. A lot of people that aren't doing that. And then your extra, I don't know. I think one of the things we need to incorporate into anyone can farm is a component of passing things on and helping people, in lieu of them asking for help. Just that's part of it. We'll divert whenever, like we would always divert to someone in need. We're going along, building our thing, building the farm, getting our systems down in place. But you get a phone call, hey, I can you help me with this? Boom, you go like that. And that makes sense, because that is one of the things that makes the farming experience really feel good, is when you can help somebody else out. To me. So anyway, I wanted to talk about a principle of life that we can apply to farming, and I have seen this in my farming career here, that I am not very high tech, and this equipment here to make this happen, to reach, it has to be. And it's one of the farm that I really don't know how it works. And I can turn it on, but I don't know what goes on behind it. And I don't know as I'm that interested in finding out. If it did end, then it ended. I've made the best of it that I can. I think that if some of this equipment breaks, there's replacement parts around, and we would do that. But I don't think that I need to know how it works. I think I have the time to dedicate to it. But in the systems that I do have, that I do rely on, I think that the concerted effort to keep things simple is a good way to go. There's a book that I told you guys about that I read. I would be home. I would be here on leave from the Air Force, right? Staying at my parents-in-law's house with my wife and kids. And I needed a book to read. And my mother-in-law handed me this book called 80 Acres. And it was written by a guy who lived like 4 miles that way north. And it's just about living around here on 80 acres. And they had a routine. This place was settled by people from Holland, the Netherlands, I guess. They're all Dutch people, and they have their thing. They have their churches. They have their routine, right? And it was kind of about that routine. And after World War II, the younger generation actively petitioned their elders, their parents, to hey, let's, we can get a loan to cultivate more of this land, and we can mechanize, we can do things smarter and quicker and stuff. And the older generation was like, well, why do you want to do that? They felt really secure in things being simple. One of the examples in the 80 Acres book was the dad, his name was Jess. He didn't sharpen his hoe, right, his cultivating hoe, because he was going to shorten the life of it if it was sharp, if he sharpened it. So to him, to not shorten the life of it was more important than to increase efficiency by having a sharp hoe to cultivate in between the rows. And I've never forgot that. That man was not stupid. He was a contemporary of the man that built this place, actually. And I believe I was told by the 95-year-old daughter of the man that put this place together before she passed away that they were friends, or they had been until they started going to different churches. And then they were enemies, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so for me, I've adopted that keep it simple attitude. If we can get by with a hand tool, then so be it. We'll do that, because hand tools like this, I got a couple tools sitting here that I used to fix this tub thing, and the tub is a 1920, so it's pretty simple. And the mixing valves on it are two separate valves, they go up through a center thing and make a shower head and all that. Antique. But this, I use this, right? I got this from my dad. Yeah, I did. And I don't know where he got it. I think he might have got it from my grandfather. Not his father, but I think it was my mother's father's wrench. And this is it could be. Yeah, this is a Crescent Tool Company, Kentucky. And it's very simple, right? And it's heavy. And so long as it doesn't get left someplace and get lost, I will have this. And I've used this when I worked at Lockheed Airplane Company. It was in my toolbox, right? And it went overseas with me. I didn't get to use it on Air Force stuff, but it was part of my tools. It was actually at the Aero Club. I worked on little planes over there. So it's a very simple tool, but it served me well. It's simple. And I got a few other things here that, just really work well. It's a pair of vice grips. I've had these things forever. They've got welding spatter on them from when you hold things and weld it. I have about 5 pairs of these. I use them all the time. They're adjustable jaws. They call them vice grips. And you screw this in on the end. I know some people may not have seen these, but a lot of the guys on here. Justin, you ever see? You probably never have. Call them vice grips. And you can really grip stuff very tightly with them. Real good. But they're simple, very durable. I've had these. These are probably my dad's too. Probably were. I don't know. I buy them from time to time. Then these are slip jaws, or they call these channel locks. And this one is only about 5 years old. I got these from Home Depot. It's a bigger pair. This one's made by Husky. Not very good quality. And the handle's already kind of given out on it, But I don't know how much it was. It was probably $10 or $12, something like that. But you can do a lot with these. They just open right up like that. Very simple. But yesterday, And Andy, you're going to like this one. I went over to Home Depot. That was the only place I could go to try and find a new mixing valve. And I'm always thinking, keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. And I go over there, and the guy says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I'm looking for a valve like this." And he says, "Whoa, where'd you get that?" And I said, "Came off of a 1920s tub." He says, "We're not going to have that here, but you could order one." And so he took me over and showed me where to order it and stuff. And then I said, "Yeah, but I'm going to need, until it comes, I'm going to need some way to make this work." And so we go over and we start looking around, and I decided that I could, the split on the flange, I decided that I could cut that split down, so I could bring it back to the shop and I could cut that bronze off, and that there would be no more split. And then I could put a steel elbow on there instead of the part that came with it originally. That was it was not working very good. And I'm showing it to the guy, and in Home Depot, he's got a mask right here. They make him wear it. Pretty nice guy. And then last night I showed up there at 8:00, and he says, "Still giving her hell, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, I got kind of a mess." And he says, "Well, at least you ain't giving up." I said, "That's true." That made me feel a little better. And so we got to talking a little bit. And at the end of it, I had the parts that I needed. And he had a way about him that was kind of familiar. And he says, "Well, how are you swedging these ends on? Are you using this or are you using this?" And I said, "Oh, I'm using this. I'll show it to you. This is for putting on PEX tubing. And let's say that you have a fitting like this being the fitting. This is removed because I'm not used to assembly anymore. And this is the PEX tubing. And then when you join it, you have this ring right here that you put on there. And then you have this clamping assembly that you put over it. And you clamp down on it with a pair of vice grips until you can't clamp it anymore. And it's supposed to be permanent. It's supposed to not move, right? But the assembly that I had in the bathroom, it was actually leaking a little bit there. And the guy says to me, "Are you using these?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "That's not the best way to go." I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah. You want to use these." And he shows me these other clamps that I had seen on the shelf, but I just didn't really know what they were. It's a different size. It's a different type of clamp. It's called a pinch clamp. And to make it work, you have to have a pair of pliers like this. And this pair of pliers, though, on the shelf is $55. And I was like, I already got this other thing, this cheapy thing, and it seems to work pretty good. He says, "Well, it's not working too good, is it?" I said, "No, it isn't." He said, "If you get this, you'll have this tool for the rest of your life, and every time you want to put one of these on, it will not leak. You cannot get it off. You have to cut it off. But if you do have to cut it off, let's say that you've put it on like this, and that little clamp is in place there instead of the one that you see, right? All I have to do is hit that with a little, hacksaw, and it cuts right off. And then you can take it off and you can pull this apart if you want, or you can just cut it off. I'm sure you'll have enough slack line in there where you can put the new one. And he convinced me that, this is a better way to go than the old-fashioned ring pliers. And I kind of looked at it for a minute, and I said, "Well, I don't know. I got a pretty simple system there. I think I'd like to stay with it." And he says, "Or you could go over here." These are called shark bite fittings, and each fitting was about $10, and it was a one-time use. And then once you had used it, it bites into the PEX tubing, and it's a permanent fix, but you can only use it one time. So this $55 pair of pliers, which I used today, and I used on 2 lines, and I knew from what this guy said, these were not going to leak. I knew it. I mean, he was adamant about it. And so anyway, at the end of our interaction, when I got there at 8 o'clock last night, the place is getting ready to close down at 9, I guess. So there was nobody in the store, and we got to talking and stuff. And he's like, "Well, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I got a farm over in Marion." And he says, "Well, you farm your whole life?" I said, "Oh no, I'm only been farming for just a short period of time. This is kind of a new thing to me." And they said, "Well, what, do you live around here?" Because this guy, it was different. There was something about him that was different. And so I felt like I could ask him, "What are you doing here?" Because he didn't seem like he should be there, but that store has a lot of guys like that there. And so that's why I was probing him. And he says, "Well, I was gone for a while." I said, "How long?" And he said, 21 years. I said, "What branch?" He says, "I was in the Air Force." I said, "No kidding. What did you do?" And he said, "Armament systems." And I said, 462? And he says, "Yeah." He says, "What did you do?" And I told him. So we stood there and we talked until almost closing about, the bases we'd been at and stuff, and what it's like to get out and be, in the civilian world, which is first time to tell you, it really sucks. You get used to it, and then you start to meet people where they're at and stuff. And it's okay. Like, it's not that there's anything wrong with the civilian world. It's just that our world was so different and so, I don't know, just so different. It was just so different. And yeah, angle grinder cuts those off. You would know, crew chief. That's how you're out there on an F-15 with an angle motor. I bet. So, and we got talking about simplicity, keeping things simple. And that was one of in the mill. You guys would think, "Oh, we have the most sophisticated equipment." That's not always true. When you get under the hood of a car, there's a lot more sophistication under the hood of a car than there is on an F-15. Honestly, F-15s, those systems, well, they're broken down into systems, and the systems are very well wrung out, to the point where there's very little that can go wrong. Aviation is far different than automotive. Automotive is always way beyond aviation. And you would find that hard to believe, but it's true. It is actually true. Yeah. So, anyway, we talked about that a lot, and I think that if I was in a different career field than I am right now, like where I was working I worked at the power plant in town before I left, and a lot of it was complex. I remember thinking at that point in my life, I don't want to know. I don't want to fill my head with this complexity. I want to just fine tune what I have and make it work really well and be really presentable, instead of getting more high tech and just more stuff around me that I don't understand how it works. So that was my message tonight. And if you ever come here, you'll see that a lot of the things I do, I could do them probably a more sophisticated way, but I choose to go the simple route. Keep it simple, stupid, KISS. Keep it simple. And if you keep it simple, when there is a problem, then there's clear solutions to the problem. So if you keep it simple, you will find clear solutions. They won't be convoluted. I used the example of uh, tractors, like equipment and cutting equipment and stuff like that. I have to have a technician come out from a different state with a laptop computer to tell me what's wrong with a piece of equipment, then I do not want that equipment. I honestly don't. Now, I have a car sitting out there that's 10 years old, and you might say, well, what about that? Yeah, I know. I know. But I made provisions, and the provisions are I with John Spears, and he's got a mechanic that knows how those things work. So yeah, I have a piece of equipment that's beyond my my technical ability, but I made the decision and put in vision for if there's a failure. Like it's got a problem now, it's throwing a code. It says the gas cap's off. Well, it's probably nothing, but a guy like me, I go back there and I click the gas cap and it's like, it's on. And that's as far as I can go. We have to plug it in to a laptop, and by it saying the gas cap is off, it means that the EGR valve actually is low on something or other, And but what can you do? I can't be driving 1965 cars here because they're not around, because planned obsolescence, and they salt the everything just deteriorates around here. So you actually have to buy newer cars. Actually, I don't know. My short haul equipment, like my pickup truck, is actually in 1974. So yeah, I know it works pretty well. Not much on there. I know how it works. All right. Well, that was it. Keeping it hand tools. Oh, gee. I did get kind of I listen to things that I'm trying to stay abreast of what's going on a little bit, as much as I was, honestly, because I feel like, okay, I've got a pretty clear mission, what I need to do. And so let's just do that. But occasionally I see something and I feel like I need to hear it. And there's a guy by the name of Max E. And he's been around, and he moves around. He's been persecuted by the Australian government. And I think he's in Costa Rica now, or maybe South America is actually. And I used to him, and a friend of mine sent me of his the other day, and he's one of those guys that say, people better wake up. You better wake up, better wake up. Because if we don't, they're going to, and okay, give me solutions. I want solutions, Max. But the other day he said something like, if there ever was a time for you to blow your life savings, this is the first time that I've seen it in my life, and he's 80 something. And he said, I would blow my life savings on land and then on implements to work that land. And if you went back into 1875, and something like, hey, Max Egan said in the year 2022 that now's a good time to blow your life savings on land and implements to till the land, they would say, what else are you going to spend it on? What else could you spend it on? No, there wasn't anything else, right? There wasn't thing in the stock market, Bitcoin, precious metals. There wasn't all that stuff that there is now, flipping cars and stuff. It didn't exist. So he said that, and, well, you don't have to invest in land and implements to till the land and then hope that everything goes to hell in a handbasket. You can just do that and then change your lifestyle to be a little bit more agrarian. And I'm still of the mind, keep your day job, keep your day job. And this is why I've been moving in the direction of the nomad community, is because I think they're experiencing the best of both worlds. Actually, they're working remotely and still making a good paycheck, but then they have the opportunity to save their money so they can get into a homesteading situation. So that was my thought. Keeping it simple. And one of the simplest things that we can do is share with each other. If you come across something really cool, is your PC plugged in? There is a beep sound. Yes, it is. Oh, I heard it. Let me read some of these things. I see Nancy. I saw a thing on, must be your mother's thing, Amelia. I see you got some pigs. You got them off of the Ghost or Coastal Gardening. It ain't over here. I like to hear that. Jonathan Pierce, my father is a huge blue line conservative, and we go round and round arguing about it. People breaking their oaths to enforce tyranny and traitors and should be treated as such. I agree. Words have meanings. When you use word like traitor, like if you take an oath and then you go back on that oath, if you're not a traitor, I don't know what you are. The government funded the police against the people. The ghost said, who's guarding his house while he's out donning body armor and protecting politicians? I wouldn't want to oppress my next door neighbors like that. Yeah, that's always been one of the principles of a free society, is our peace officers live amongst us, right? There comes a time when all the king's horses and all the king's men have to be brought within the walls of the castle, because they're not safe out with the peasantry. And then it's like all out war against the two. And this government, you can tell what's going on. It's not like Trudeau is just a spoiled little brat and he wants his way. He's between a rock and a hard place. He's against the peasants, what he considers the peasants. I think he is a spoiled little brat. I detest him. But he's doing the work, the New World Order, the deep state, the global agenda, the Council of Foreign Affairs, whatever that is. The Klaus Schwab people, he's up against them, and they will knock him off in an instant. And he thinks he probably stands a better job, has a better chance by doing their bidding than doing what the truckers want. Now, he could have put a good face on it and just met with the truckers. A lot of the provinces were dropping the mandates anyway, but he didn't. So it didn't even look good. It's hard if a lot of those stormtrooper looking guys are actually Canadians. It's hard. Yeah, I did see that, Nancy, the shot journalist. When I saw that, it seemed to me like there's a measure here of frustration on the part of us too. They've had people kind of flaunting in their face, and I think they're frustrated too. They're getting it from the cops are getting it from both sides. Their leadership saying go out and get a handle on this, and they're going out and then they're having people screaming in their face about their oath of office and all this stuff. And I think it would be really hard to be a cop, an Ottawa cop, or a RCMP. The sad thing about the RCMP is they're forever going to be looked at in the light of this incident. And it's sad. It's really sad. Jonathan says, that's why small town sheriffs generally are pretty good. Mine is a heck of a nice guy. Oh, yours is a heck of a nice guy, but is that because everybody knows where he lives? I think so. And, rural communities too. There isn't really big time politics in there. Nancy's asking, is your PC plugged in? There's a beep sound, like batteries getting low. Yes, it is. Plumbing usually doesn't stay simple. Well, it is now, because this kid, he retired in 16, right? I retired in 04. So there's a little bit of differential in age. And he was kind of like, he had that line chief authoritarian, like, there's a better way to do this. Do you know there's a better way to do this? Do you want to hear a better way? Like, because he was like a mission orientated guy. He wanted me to go home. I was surprised he didn't say, now I want a phone call from you, so long as it's before midnight, and I want to know how things went. I wouldn't have minded it, but no, I'm going to go back and see him and give him my card and stuff and invite him to be part of this group. Yeah, he's a good guy. But he's actually, Andy, he's not happy here. His folks live here and they have rental properties and stuff, but he wants to go to Alaska. So he's bidding a job up there. Evidently, what he was doing, a lot of that is done by civilians now, loading bombs. All right. Yep. Okay, your pigs are cute. That's good. You got to name them. Name them like pork chop and roast, because eventually that's where they go. Well, okay. I'm glad we were able to get together. Can we get the thumbs ups going? And if I could get your assistance, please, if you would go through your list of people and recommend them to come to the show, and also to subscribe to the Anyone Can Farm experience. Joe's putting videos up there and he's doing a really good job, and we want to grow this footprint. We really want to grow this footprint. I feel as though there are a lot of people out there who are just waiting to get into the homesteading community, and let's help them by letting them know that we're here and grow this footprint. So I need your help on that. Yes and no on armament. He said he was actually bidding an age job, because I told him I was an age mechanic. He says, oh, I would like to do that. That was a good job. All right. I'm going to get going. Tomorrow night's going to be our Q&A. Please give us the thumbs up, subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow night. Anyone Can Farm.